What's up, guys? This is Gukill here. I'm doing another quick video this week because we are just over 2 months away from WrestleMania 31, which will be held in San Francisco. And a lot of things can change, but we're past the Royal Rumble. That means the road to WrestleMania has officially begun. And with that being said, it's fun to make these kinds of predictions. It's kind of like making. For me, I view this as the beginning of the WWE playoffs. Essentially, it's fun to make predictions when the playoffs start in any sport. NHL, as you can see by the shirt I'm wearing right here, Canucks fan for life. NFL, baseball. It's always fun to try and make some predictions and see how things end up. So with that said, I'm going to do the same sort of thing with the Royal Rumble. Now that it's past, sorry, I'm going to do the same thing with WrestleMania and kind of make up a card based on the players that we have in place right now, kind of the storylines that have been shaping up in the past couple of months, and kind of finalize a card and see where we go from there. Cool. So we already know what the main event of WrestleMania is. We got WWE World Heavyweight Champion Brock Lesnar defending against the winner of the 2015 Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns. It kind of speaks for itself. I'm not going to make predictions on winners and losers for a fantasy card, even though I know that matchup is set in stone. Because, again, at this point, we don't know what's going to happen in that match anyway. So that's the main event. I think it'll be great. I think that if the crowd doesn't start to respond to it, it's something I could even potentially see being not the main event, if that makes sense. I think we could see a sort of swerve going in there. It could open the show and then they could do something different with a cash in. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. That's the main event. Let's move on. Okay, next prediction I have is a singles match based on the advertising that's going out for WrestleMania 31. It looks like WWE seems very confident that The Undertaker will have another match. So that being said, I think that what you need to go with is you need to go with The Undertaker facing Bray Wyatt. The reason why is because I felt right from the very beginning that Bray Wyatt was an interesting, compelling, new character that had that same kind of dark, not creepy, but just dark and different side to him that The Undertaker had when he first began. The production quality on, Bray's entrance and his promos, they're golden. I kind of complain that I feel like he doesn't really say anything when he talks, if that makes sense. He doesn't really ever have a point. He just kind of says a lot of things. But that could be good, too, because that means that, he's not repeating the same point, essentially, over and over again. He can come out and say something that sounds cool and dark and creepy, and people bite that, right? I think that if Bray kind of started being treated a little bit more like a monster heel, like in the way that they try to push Kane and Big Show, these guys that they just like to give them lots of wins to reestablish the fact that they're not very beatable. I think if you do that with Bray, you're looking at somebody that could be another Undertaker for you, and I think that the feuds and the promos and everything that goes into that match could be awesome, and it would also do a really good job as establishing Bray as finally a definitive heel, because the fans are going to be cheering Undertaker on. So this would be a great opportunity to finally draw that line. Bray does this unique thing where he tries to get the crowd into what he's doing. I think that's cool and everything, but you kind of can't be a gray area. Either you're good or you're not, and establish that line. He's not good, and run with that, right? So I think that is kind of a co-main event that you could talk about. Which, speaking of co-main events, it seems that we're going full board towards Sting versus Triple H. So let's do that one up. There's not really much to say. We've had Sting appear a couple times in storyline and really mess up things for Mr. Hunter Hearst Helmsley. So that one seems to be a given. There's not really that much to say. It'll be awesome to see whatever they decide to come up with for Sting's WrestleMania entrance, because Sting is a lot about theatrics and a lot about the show. And it'll be cool to see, him in the high production of WWE, and especially in there with a ring general like Triple H. You're not going to get a Shawn Michaels Kurt Angle classic, but you're going to get that awesome experience of one of the biggest guys in the WWE in history against the franchise of WCW in the first match ever in his entire career in the WWE. All right, next match. I think that if we get him back, which seems to be given as well, we'll get one of the conclusions to the Authority storyline that's been going on for a long time now, and we're gonna get Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton in a singles match. Reason why I think this needs to be a singles match, I think that based on the reaction that Randy got when he landed that RKO on Seth Rollins on Raw a couple months back, the crowd was super, super into him. I think that he needs a match one-on-one with Seth Rollins, who, whether or not anybody else thinks so, I think he's the top bad guy in the company. Draw that line, go Randy into full, babyface mode, get the cheers, and Seth Rollins is the best wrestler in the company right now. Well, except maybe for Daniel Bryan, but based on recent work, Seth Rollins is amazing. They can have a 5-star match. Randy's very smooth and very good in the ring. I think that one will be, another show stealer type match. So the tough part now, because WrestleMania last year, we didn't have very many matches. We had, a big battle royal. We had, Shield versus the Outlaws and Kane. We had Cena, Wyatt, Taker, Lesnar, the WWE title match, and Daniel Bryan and Triple H, and I guess a Divas Schmoz Fest that went on too, right? So talking about this already, we've got 4 singles matches lined up. I would love to add, a 5th in there and say, we're going to get John Cena versus Rusev, just because, Cena's their boy. He's American, all about troops and military and everything like that. It's a match made in heaven. I think it's going to happen. It sounds like it's going to happen at Fastlane, actually, but I think it'd be a better spectacle at WrestleMania. I hope it happens because, win or lose for Rusev, it's a great rub either way. If he wins, monster mega heel, there you go, up into the stratosphere for you. You could even push something like Rusev versus Lesnar or Reigns at SummerSlam, right? You can go somewhere with that. If not, then you get the awesome feel-good moment for all those Americans. John Cena, the conquering American, comes back, very Hogan-esque, and, beats the monster Russian, right? I guess after that, you're going to have the tag team championships. So we'll go the Usos versus the Ascension. Seems to be where we're going with this in all likelihood. So, I don't have much good to say about that because I don't like the Ascension, but it seems that's where they're going with it. I would take the Usos to retain there because they've been such a great tag team over the last year. I think that they deserve to have that, WrestleMania moment together, celebrating as brothers, as champions at WrestleMania. Excuse me. So then after that, what do you have? That's a lot of storylines by himself to work in. You've got 5 singles matches, and you've got a tag team title match. So I don't think you're going to really get too much more on the card. So unfortunately, for me, if they plan on continuing what they did last year, that would put it in place for the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which could actually not be a bad thing. Battle Royals are kind of, a funny thing, but I think if you put all those people into that category, you can wind up with a really good, Final Four. If you've got, Cesaro in there, Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, Ryback. You can have a really actually good competitive aspect to it to actually put that Battle Royal over as being, winning that is great. I would love to see something actually go in place saying that, the winner of the Battle Royal gets, a title shot on Raw or gets a title shot at the next pay-per-view. I think a lot of that's actually missing from WWE programming setting things up to actually build to pay-per-views, right off the get-go. But that being said, I think that's going to actually be where a lot of people wind up and end up filling time. The last thing I'll say is I know I'm missing a huge person, and that's Daniel Bryan. I don't think Daniel Bryan is going to be in a battle royal type atmosphere. I think if he is, the crowd's going to really spit on that and not enjoy it. But, I really felt that he was perfectly slotted in to, do the David versus Goliath, Brock versus Daniel Bryan match. And I don't really have a place for him. I think that, they kind of dropped the ball with that opportunity, but I'm sure they'll find something for Daniel Bryan, whether, they bring Sheamus back and, they try and get, Daniel to avenge that 18-second loss. I know it's a huge, gap in there, and I also know that there's no Divas match. I'm sure we'll get one in there. I know that they're going to find something to fill time. It'd probably be a 4-hour-long pay-per-view, but those are my thoughts on really what the main attraction matches are going to be at WrestleMania 31. I actually think the card sounds pretty good. I think it'll be a pretty great show. We'll just have to see, things can change. People can get hurt. The crowd reactions can determine a lot of things. Remember that, people have the power. Technically, it really changed things for last year's WrestleMania. So those are my thoughts. Those are my predictions. You guys are free to comment on those. Leave me anything in the comment section below. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Twitch. You guys can, like and subscribe to the channel. I hope to get out a lot more videos and more regularly. Leave my comments and feedback on mostly Raw. If I have time, I'll leave some on SmackDown. I'll probably leave one after this SmackDown, since it's essentially going to be Raw, because they couldn't have Raw on Monday. But, we've seen in programming lately that SmackDown doesn't actually tend to really further any storylines or any programming. They're just sort of a filler B show. So if there's something eventful that happens on SmackDown that I'm able to catch it, I'll give you guys a video and some commentary on that. But mainly stick to Raw, pay-per-views, and obviously any big events that happen in WWE. Obviously last year with the Punk situation, we'll have thoughts and feedback on that. So anyway, we'll wrap this video up. Thanks guys for listening. It'll be interesting to see in 60 days what the lineup is for WrestleMania 31.